Tom Seymour, what's up?
Hey, it's me, Tom Seymour from VHS Massacre.
It's the Ides of August, and we have a couple quick updates today. I figured we'd get into it a little bit. First and foremost, with the music. Dude, I did not one, but two publications this week. Simple orchestrations and one called Timbers, which is more modern orchestral stuff. 16 tracks total. So, back on the horse, so to speak, with the production schedule and everything. Kind of muscled through it this week. Took a long walk last week and did, semi-final edits. And then this week did a final edit walk and then listened to it. And yeah, they're where they're going to be. So got them published on Thursday. And now I've got a whole list here of other genres that have a bunch of stuff in it. Like I literally started writing down all the tracks that are sitting on my hard drive. Which, can we talk about hard drive costs for a minute?
Sure. Did they spike or something?
Dude, like a 4 terabyte hard drive on Amazon is like $900,000, or not $900 rather, $900,000, $900. It's ridiculous, but it's like double what it used to be. It's insane.
That's terrible.
But dude, I've got like electric blended. I did some of these electric ones already, but there's like glitch stuff. I got to do that. I always love that genre. And I have like a whole page of horror. So guess what's coming for September?
Hey, yeah, dude,
just in
that's
time.
Right. You gotta crank those out, baby.
Yeah,
people need them pretty much next month. September, people are gonna start putting stuff together.
Yeah. So if I focus on that genre the next 2 or 3 weeks, I can have that ready and prepared, get it published, and then get all the ISRCs for it and everything, and then just disseminate it, put it on the website, and then do some promotional stuff, get it in people's hands so they can do the thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. I think that number range that I talked to you about before, and I talked to the rest of the audience about earlier in the year, that 100 to 150, it's probably going to be somewhere in that ballpark. Right now, I've hit, I think it's 36 tracks for the year, which is not nothing, but
you're taking into account the planned rest. So
sure,
you're ramping back up. So
yeah.
I think you'll start cranking.
Yeah, and I've got a lot of existing ideas that are in the pipeline. It's literally like, even if I do half of those, we're looking at like 15 tracks in the horror genre anyway. So
if you were
that puts
getting
me at 50,
$100, 150 a year, that's really not bad, because mathematically that's pretty good. 300 in 2 years, 4 years, 600. So you'll get to, it's a good pace to hit 2,000 at some point.
Yeah. And I think, Tom, I'm less concerned about the volume at this point and more concerned about the audience needs. And that's part of it too, with the repositioning of the marketing and doing some research with some of the competitors and everything out there, and just seeing what's trending, and not to join the bandwagon, but to kind of get an idea of the feel and the vibe that people are using, and find some path in between that's, holistically authentic to me, but also something that's enjoyable, right? And that's going to be used. So we'll see. Every time I have to do something that I enjoy, and that's really what it comes down to. That's first and foremost. Not unlike our movies, you know what I mean? If we don't like the subject matter that we're doing, making movies, what are we doing it for?
Yeah, I don't and that's kind of the problem with the film industry, is you have thousands of people who are who just think of it as a job, and they need the job, and they do their job, but in the art world, that's a problem. That's not really how it's supposed to be.
Yeah. I mean, everything becomes a grind at some point if you're being disciplined and forcing your hand to be creative, even when your energy's low, or you just don't feel like it some days. Like, it's not about what you feel like. It's kind of like keep pushing forward, no matter what, right? So those days are the toughest, I think.
Yeah, man, I've been in a real slump lately. It's I actually been going on these long walks, go for these 3 mile walks, and because normally that's built into my commute, and 5 days a week. I don't have that. So I've just been going out on these 3-mile walks. It's actually pretty enjoyable. But I'm like, so I don't know what to do. So I'll put on these I'll put on like Goggins, David Goggins or something, or, like some psychopath that's just like, get up, and I'll just put that on. I'll just go for my walks, and I feel much better after. And then when I get back, I actually feel productive, and I'll work on a few things with, with the movie and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, there's something to be said about movement in general to get you to take action, because that whole action itself is taking action, right? The act of walking it makes all of the systems in your body like come to life. No, not just your endocrine system, but all your muscular, all of your neural. I mean, there's so much neural activity in the act of moving, just walking.
Yeah. And
you know what I mean?
I heard this TikToker talked about how, like, when you're inside, often you say to yourself, I'm so tired. I'm too tired to go outside. But their whole point is like, no, you're tired because you're inside. And once you go outside and start walking, that will go away. And it's like important to remember that. Like if you're on the couch or you're laying around and you say, I can't go for a walk. I'm so tired. It's like, no, man, you'll feel way better outside, So it's just, you got to force yourself to do it sometimes,
And sometimes it's that internal narrative that dictates your feelings too. That's all you have to say to yourself. Oh, I'm tired, or I'm achy, or, whatever. And your mind has a way of finding that answer, and like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's important to kind of check your internal narrative sometimes, because if you don't, you can kind of let it dictate your whole day's productivity and your whole day's energy and mood and everything. And it's funny how you can just turn it on a dime, even if something triggered you and you feel kind of crappy or lousy. Like, it's important to kind of keep that dumb voice in the head in check. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So it's good, man. For everyone out there, you got to keep moving, So.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's do movie updates, man. Specifically with Video Dreams, and then the status of Enter the Television. Let's do it up.
Yeah. One of the very cool things is that Video Dreams got into the 17th annual Underground Cinema International Film Festival, which is Ireland's longest running film festival. And it is a IFTA, it's affiliated with the Irish Film and Television Academy.
Okay.
So, and this is a very cool thing. So it's right in Dublin, and which is cool because I've actually been there before. Like went on my honeymoon there, went to Greece and then Ireland. And this is great. This is very cool thing about this film festival. It's underground, but it's also affiliated with the Irish Academy Awards, which is really cool, man. It's definitely like an honor to be part of this festival, and it's a weird thing. And then in the United Kingdom, we've been getting into these British Independent Film Award qualifiers as well. Also in Canada, these Canadian Screen Award qualifiers, we've won over there.
Yeah.
And it's cool. Less so with the United States. Although we've hit Arizona Underground was the top underground, and we've won at another hole in the head, which is San Francisco Independent Film Festival. They're one of their top genre festivals in the country.
Yeah, and Silver Telly,
and stuff like that. Yeah, the Telly Awards. So don't get me wrong, and that's a lesson to be learned, right? Is like you may have certain desires of what you want or what you think would be a fit, but it's very important to get yourself out there in as widest way as possible, because you'll be really surprised. It's like, it's good to go where you're wanted. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's really cool. So this one is, I believe it goes live on August 29th, and there's an online element to it. Let's see. The website is underground-cinema.com, and you can see the online films there as well. And we're playing online. Not sure if it's geolocked. I don't see anything about that, which could mean if it's not geolocked, that means people in the US can get it. just for like 3 days. So check that out. It's a big honor. It's so late in the film festival run for Video Dreams. I didn't think we were going to get into like another big one.
Right.
So
right.
this is, Ireland's, I believe, longest running independent.
Now, how many does that count for now, between official selections and
It's either, it could be 54 at this point, 53 or 54. And who knows, we could get nominated.
Yeah.
26 wins, 13 or 14 nominations.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. Okay. We did this series. Tim scored this wonderful late night movie marathon called Late Night with Luann. And it's actually a lot of fun. I can't front. It's very funny.
How many years ago was that now? 15?
We did it for Troma Now in 2015. But it was
so a little over 10 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, so it was non-exclusive, but it was a series. So last year I took it and I kind of re-edited it into one 60-minute movie marathon, technically a feature, but it's literally like you tune into a movie marathon. So there's like 3 or 4 shorts with all fake commercials, everything in it we made. Like all the commercials and trailers and all the hosted stuff with Maggie Champagne from the Amy Schumer Show. Awesome person who I've known for decades. And then Double Dementia, who's Elizabeth Ambrosio. She was awesome in it. And then you have Lloyd Kaufman in it, Sean Phillips, and just a bunch of other cool people.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was a fun little thing. Anyway, so it was on Troma Now, but it didn't really do much. I wouldn't really hear about much, but with it. So when I turned it into this marathon, suddenly a few things popped up. Rhonda Shear's network popped up, and they're looking for content, and they actually took it. So
yeah, it's her new Roku channel, right?
Yeah. So it's it's Up All Night Network. I think it aired already. I'm trying to see if it's reoccurring, and then actually, Horror Hound had the same thing, and Horror Hound TV, they were looking for content, and they took it, and that's actually it's live now. So Horror Hound TV, you can go look at Late Night with Luann. It's horrorhound.com, and then there's like a /TV, and so the series is called Late Night with Luann. It includes outrageous films like Mermaiders from Outer Space, that's Stephanie Perez's title. Groom of the Bigfoot, directed by Ken Powell and written by Ken Powell. Flying Snake Attack, that was my concept. Gerard Texan made that. And then Mermaiders, this guy Oswald Barrios directed that. And yeah, Ken Powell. And then I directed the actual show part. So yeah, anyway, so it's a lot of fun. Okay, and this is the most interesting part. I started saying that this is kind of funny, like, this thing, Late Night with Luann, has a new second life, right?
Right.
Well, I was looking at El Rey Network, which is Robert Rodriguez's network. And, it was this big cable station for a while. I think a few slots were open for new cable stations to sort of launch. So Robert Rodriguez jumped in there, started it. He formed an alliance with Univision. So suddenly it became, well, it's funny, right? It was independent for like a minute and then partnered with Univision. But Robert Rodriguez is still amazing, but then Univision dropped out recently, and it turned more into Roku and then DirecTV. But they were looking for content, so I submitted Late Night with Luann to El Rey Network. So anyway, this is the lesson here for anyone listening out there who's an independent filmmaker is like, look for these opportunities. Given this was a film that it wasn't required that I make money off of it. It had been through a cycle and I had the rights to it. And so I was able to kind of make something new out of it. And that gave it some kind of appeal. And now it's on all these, these channels. So it may be something you can do with a short film or even a feature that, let's say, you make with your friends, like a low budget horror thing. If you're just starting out and you have really no resume or anything, you can definitely get together with your friends, make like a 75-minute feature-length horror film for really like $2,000-3,000. Pay for some legitimate horror makeup effects, and that'll get you halfway there. And pick up a used Blackmagic cinema camera for a couple $100. And then anyway,
that's a crazy statement right there to think about.
Yeah,
like that's such an amazing piece of equipment to use.
It is,
and yet you can get it for next to nothing on such cheap.
Yeah,
you know
I would
mean?
imagine that the original Blackmagic cameras, the production camera and the cinema, and maybe the handheld, they would shoot like I think 1080 or maybe even 2K RAW.
Mm-hmm.
But dude, that stuff is gorgeous. You can absolutely master that in 4K, and it's so good. So like, and those cameras are probably $300 now.
Yeah.
So it's like definitely.
And you're gonna probably put filters on it and stuff to give it that cinema feel anyway. So, and you have plenty of you have plenty of data there, right?
Yeah.
At 2K, even at 2K, like even at 1080, you've got plenty of information.
If it's 1080,
right?
you could shoot you could shoot essentially raw. It was like uncompressed. So I mean that's fine, man. You that stuff will clean up just fine. So and then the 4K ones are my 4K Pocket that we got for VHS Massacre Productions, thanks to Tim Cooley, was that's very reasonable now. That's maybe used maybe $600 or something. I mean all the peripheral makes it. I have it's
like the lenses and stuff.
Couple grand, yeah. But still. So anyway, this is a way you could seriously build up your resume. Rhonda Shear Up All Night, get on there, get on Horror Hound TV. Maybe El Rey, Latino filmmakers out there. He may be looking for Latino content. Put your short on there. Make a short. Get on El Rey Network. Credible, So like, there's a lot of stuff you can do. So anyway, it's possible. So
well, it shows also like if you're looking at the history of us making movies together and the various stuff that we've done over time, there's a couple projects we've done this with where we've kind of revisited the project and done a different imagination of it, right?
Yeah.
And it just goes to show you that even though you've done something, published it, put it out there, it's not always done. Sometimes you realize, 5, 10, 15 years down the road that you've got this thing that you can expand upon, and you have new ideas for it. You can breathe new life into it. Case in point is Late Night with Luann.
Yeah. Well, we did the same thing with Exorcism of Fleet Marish, and really, it's become it's like a little gem for us because
it's got that whole film noir feel to it because it's all in black and white, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's like, and web wide, it's got to be 1 million people who've seen it, and because on YouTube alone, it's on some of the top horror channels, it's getting like 300,000 views or something like that. And it's also on like Tubi and Prime and all these. I would imagine it's cracked 1 million. And for a movie that really didn't, no one saw it initially when it was called Mark of the Beast. The ground up re-edit and recolor grading, sound design, and then all fresh horror score, which is really like your orchestral stuff is in there too. So, but I think you excel at a lot of this.
Yeah, that dark horror stuff.
Yeah,
I don't know what my problem is, but it is the thing.
Yeah,
it is a thing of mine.
Yep.
And Tom has this ability to really, like, in between projects. This is when both of these things really happened.
Yeah,
it was in between projects. Like, we were doing the festival circuit for one of the projects, and Tom gets itchy. This is what I love about him. Like, he's always ready for the next thing. And if we haven't quite found that next narrative, and that next, like, not narrative in the sense of, non-documentary, but like the next thing to talk about.
Story. Yeah. Or idea.
If we haven't landed on and refined it yet, Tom often will look at something and in those two cases literally said, yeah, I got the raw footage. I'm going to strip everything out and just like see if I can do literally just do a black and white of this. And then like with the Late Night with Luann, like, let's see if I can make a feature out of this thing. And then he just fires this thing out.
Yeah, that was much easier, but yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
No, I know. I say fired out. I mean, over the course of weeks, obviously. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, well, Late Night with Luann was, that was just, although I had a failed attempt, and then I went back to it, and then I just simplified it. But Mark of the Beast our Exorcism that was a lot more elaborate. That took a couple months. But no, it was fun to do. And I think about that, I have this other one, London Betty, and I think about that one, but that's kind of a trashy comedy. It's probably not capable of the same type of re-release as Exorcism of Fleet Marish,
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, it's funny. You do projects, and sometimes they're very much set in the zeitgeist of the time that they were made.
Yeah.
Right. And I see that even with films today that people are doing re-releases of, and I kind of scratch my head and I'm like, yeah, that kind of lived in 80s comedy and 80s sensitivities,
Yeah.
And for somebody to come back and redo it now, I kind of scratch my head and I'm like, I'm not sure what the thinking is on that.
Yeah, it's just,
you know what I mean?
I don't see there's not quite a benefit,
Yeah. It's different if it's an IP, like, or I guess you'd call this an IP, like a monster IP, like Dracula or something like that. Public domain, right? So anybody can pick that up. That's why you see a Dracula movie every 4 or 5 years that's semi-mainstream or mainstream, right? Yeah. Somebody's reimagining that story somehow and twisting it to their own narrative. It's different, I think, like you said, like with subgenres, like comedy and drama. Like sometimes those things are very, very much riding the waves of that era.
Yeah, it's either a classic like Shawshank Redemption that if people will watch 100 years from now as a sort of artifact,
Mm-hmm.
or it's going to be something really misshapen and that hasn't aged well, like we talked about Tiptoes.
Yeah,
Gary Oldman. It's just horribly wrong.
Yeah.
Wrongly made film. And
well, the thing with that one, and if anybody doesn't know what that is, it's a drama that surrounds McConaughey, and his brother is Gary Oldman, who's a little person, right? And the cast is like extensively little people. It's probably the biggest cast of little people I've ever seen since like The Wizard of Oz. Like I'd never seen that many people on film, little people on film. And think the director and the person that wrote this authentically felt like they were making serious dramatic art, right? Like I think they thought that.
Well,
you see the trailer.
Yeah.
It takes itself very seriously.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The thing that, given, not to make this podcast about Tiptoes, but
no.
The thing that the craziest thing is that Peter Dinklage is in it, and he actually plays this really interesting, like, French guy. And the truth is, like, if he was the lead, that would have fixed 50% of the problems. But then the other 50% is how terrible the story is.
Yeah.
So it's a mess. Anyway,
I think it was a time crunch. I think they probably filmed it in a very short period of time, and the writing wasn't great, and those two things don't mix well, right? You can't let your actors play a little bit when you don't have the time to do that, and if you don't have the footage and you don't have the stuff to capture, it's gonna come across as, I don't know, you're not gonna tell the story I think you were hoping to tell. That being said, I still enjoyed watching it. I still enjoyed the film.
It's entertaining. So anyway, there probably won't be any re-release of London Betty. Not that those are the same, but it's similarly, it hasn't aged well. So
yeah, but we'll come up with something else because on the heels of Video Dreams is Enter the Television. Do we want to talk about that?
Yeah. We can talk about Enter the Television. It's always a little dodgy to want to talk about new projects, but it is far enough along. Sorry, I keep away from my glasses. I work out right before I do these podcasts, and then I can't get this, I'm like, glasses are fogging up all the time. So I got to figure out something.
Well, you change your internal body temperature. You're just like,
yeah. And then my face is all red and stuff. Anyway, so Enter the Television, it's finished. And we, one of the things I did is I reached out to some of the film festivals where we've gotten into and won some awards with Video Dreams. This film has been a year-long process. I clocked the first video I posted on this was October 4th, which means we were working in September and discussing.
Right.
So it's
at
a year.
Least. At least.
Yeah. It's definitely a year since its inception, at least. And it's been a really hard edit. On the production side, Tim helped out a lot with the Riverside stuff, which made us able to get really high quality interviews. And we used some of those mixed in with a few Blackmagic interviews as well. So,
yeah.
So it's a mix. But so Enter the Television is about the dark corners of commercials and unconventional cable programming. And it basically is about how artists navigate within a system essentially controlled by media conglomerates. And it has Rhonda Shear, Lloyd Kaufman, Debbie Rochon, Bill D. Russell from Puppet Master. It's got Greg from Fanzine and Tim and I and Professor James Richardson and
John Brennan.
Yeah. John Brennan, whose short film, I'll just call it Wendigo.
Yep.
And it just got into Genre Blast, which is one of the big genre festivals. And I just watched it. It's so funny, dude. Anyway, check out John Brennan's Wendigo film. And Genre Blast can tell you where to check that out. And I'm sure it's playing at other genre festivals as well. So anyway, Enter the Television. So we're going to attempt to do a similar film festival run to Video Dreams. For those of you who don't know, Video Dreams was the third film in the VHS Massacre trilogy. This last film, Video Dreams, won 26 awards, 53 official selections, and just did really well. Won at some of the top underground film festivals in the world. And so the idea is maybe with Enter the Television, we actually had to work up to getting into larger and larger film festivals. And so maybe it's possible with Enter the Television, if it's good, that our bottom starting point can be higher.
Right.
And so this is going to be an experiment, and we'll let you know how it goes. I think I have about 9 festivals that we're entered into now. I'm holding off a little bit. We've got to hear back from a few of them. And then what we're going to do is on Film Freeway, you can run an email ad. We're going to run an email ad, see if we can get people interested in the film, and then roll out the trailer. And then it's just going to be a slow rollout. And really, by 2027, we'll be firing on all cylinders with the festival run for Enter the Television.
Probably through the same cycle, right? Like through the summer.
Yeah. What I realized is like I just finished this thing. It was a real, it's like towards the end, you're in an edit, feature-length documentary edit where it's all archival footage and you're trying to like de-junk everything. It's brutal when you're trying to export the thing at the end.
Well, the masking and the television masking that you did in it for the lower resolution stuff. I mean, I'm your biggest fan, so I'm gonna talk you up. It is some of Tom's best work, and it's
de-junking.
Yeah,
thanks.
Yeah, yeah. We have what we have. I mean, some of the commercials are from like the 50s and 60s. So, and it's archival, and to get it's the best version of this you can get. So, you have to work with what you got, and then to audio balance all that and have an understanding of how to mix that together so that it sounds like one big cohesive thing. It's not an easy task. And I remember various times Tom pulling his hair out and being like, I don't know. Well, it's always that 3/4 of the way through. Dude, can you watch this again? I'm not sure about some of the sections. I want to get your feedback. I'm not going to tell you where it is. That kind of thing.
I got feedback from, I think Was it five? Maybe five people.
Mhm.
Was it you, John, Navarro, Paul? It's like maybe one or two other people. It was a pretty tight group. Not
Yeah.
everyone. Oh, Jason Carvey.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
everyone can do this stuff.
Yeah.
They don't have time to do it, and your film it's always your priority. It's not everyone else's priority.
Right.
So they
Right.
have other stuff going on. But so the thing I told Tim about is that when you get to a point in your edit where all the parts are there and you need input, you've kind of exhausted what you have mentally to solve problems. And so you need input. And sometimes the input is like really brief. Like Paul's notes were brief, but if I change one thing, then everything cascades. You
Mhm.
can identify things that this doesn't fit now. Jason had a good idea to put one section towards the end. Did that? Okay, now this doesn't fit. So like
Right.
you don't need much, but you need some input.
Yeah.
You know?
And sometimes too much, that can throw you all up because you don't know what to do next, right? You kind of get paralyzed. You're like, if I do too many changes, it's a different film. So really what you're looking for is tweaks enough to keep the flow of the film right and to keep the message clear, right? And to keep it linear, right? Because people like to hear a story go from here to here to here to here, right?
Yeah.
We're not making Memento here.
Yeah, I mean
we're telling a story, like a linear story.
Yeah, it's a very good point. Yeah, not everyone could do what Christopher Nolan could do for various reasons. We chunk things more so by theme and idea. We have chapters on things. Like one is about just media manipulation and psychological tactics. One is just about consolidation.
Right.
So that's how we organized. We didn't do strictly by date.
Yeah, because
So,
it does bounce around a bit, but like to your point, yeah, we did focus on those areas, and it's still somewhat linear because as things evolved and things got more consolidated, that's closer to present day. So that makes sense, right?
yeah, there's several stories going on. There's our through lines. One is obviously about an independent voice surviving in this conglomerate. And then there's also this theme of, examining the psychological tactics and just kind of mirroring that with today. We don't show a lot from today because we don't have to. We show the past. And as Marshall McLuhan says, that's a taste of things to come. So it's like it's more interesting and fun to show how the past is the future, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's amazing to that's why they say hindsight's 2020, right? You look back and you realize like, God, like that makes perfect sense as to what's happening now. Like that, but in the moment, you don't realize what the mid and long-term ramifications of some move in some space, being in this space being, movies and TV and, even digital entertainment, online streaming and everything. Like all that stuff is affecting what's going to happen 10, 15, 20 years from now today. There's
Yeah. The psychological tactics and the stuff, like you have to take into account, like the human mind hasn't changed that much since World War I and post World War I. And so a lot of the propaganda that was parlayed from wartime propaganda into American advertising, a lot of the tactics are going to be used in your Instagram, your TikTok, and an even more like algorithmic focus, even more potent.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like saying, look, this is kind of their war chest of manipulation, and we're talking about large companies and in potentially government, but sort of that overlap,
Right.
We don't go too much into government, just to say that sometimes the agendas are similar,
Yeah. Yeah. But it amazed me. The journey amazed me in the sense that, man, it's always about gaining attention. Always. Everything. Like whether it's movies, commercials, independent film and TV versus mainstream IP, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff, like it's always about getting our attention, right? And attention and dollars is really the ultimate goal of a lot of this stuff. And you just realize how much you're bombarded by this stuff after you take the time to really kind of investigate it and look at it for what it is.
And there's no accountability by how they twist culture in order to do it. It's like whether you're talking about like all the hip hop commercials.
Yeah.
Like these terrible like Nintendo and Flintstone hip hop commercials. Just like a pretty poor representation of hip hop,
Yeah.
And or the Folgers commercial, the sexist Folgers commercial. This is weird fucking guilt trip, like about you only serve your husband this type of coffee. It's like, there's no accountability for any of that stuff. From the pharmaceutical stuff to up to anything.
Yeah, and without archival footage, it's all left to the annals of history, right? And people won't know that in a moment in time in our history, this kind of stuff was completely and utterly acceptable. Like, I was on YouTube this morning and I stumbled across a 15-minute clip of a bunch of misogynistic commercials from like the 50s and 60s. One of them is in the movie. It's the one that you referenced just a minute ago. But in addition to that one, there's a bunch of other ones. And I'm like, I can't believe that a corporation greenlit this thing. And this was on television. And this was, I mean, my God.
It just goes to show you, though, like that there were some serious assholes in not only in the agencies, but then, the agency may sort of pitch the idea, but ultimately the company approves the commercial. The company can say, "No, we're not doing this.
This is awful."
We're not doing
they were
this.
They were like, yeah. I mean, dude, it made Mad Men look like a bunch of Sunday school kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm just like, wow, I can't believe this.
Yeah. So anyway, it should be interesting. And so anyway, we're entered in some film festivals. We should have some news starting in a couple weeks. As soon as I felt like it was locked, I started looking at festival dates. And although, to tell you the truth, I'm a little kind of exhausted by this whole Video Dreams Festival run. And we're also planning a release of Video Dreams in February for streaming, and then physical media after that. So we're going to be busy, but I think this is maybe one of the first times where we have two movies that are going to be technically in the festival circuit at the same time, and that we're going to be pushing full force. So I think that is new for VHS Massacre Films.
Yeah, because there's no year in between. It's back to back.
It's back to back.
Yeah.
And if Into the Television is good, which we won't always know. I mean, I know internally that I put everything I could into it, and it's as good as it can be. But the festivals decide, the audience decides, and so I don't have any control over that. But that being said, I would like to think some things will happen that are different in 2027, 2028, as the films kind of bake into the culture. So hopefully that will happen.
I think it's encouraging that some of the festivals that we got into with Video Dreams are excited to look at this one right after. You know what I mean? Like that's very encouraging to me. And I think the second you told me that was starting to happen and you're putting some feelers out there and making some connections in that regard.
Yeah. Like
it's very exciting to me.
Yeah. Like it may take 30 years and for you to make inroads into certain festivals. I never had that. I was never in the inside track of really anything. It was only in the case where, like, if a filmmaker I knew started a film festival, that was the only time I really knew anyone.
Yeah.
But no, it's been good to just, you send an email, and actually I got some good advice on if you enter a film festival, you can on Film Freeway, your entry has a tag. It's got a certain number associated with it. If you email that to the festival and say, "Hey, I just entered FYI," like that could be a good thing. It could, potentially bypass a few previewers,
Yeah.
if the right person catches it. And it's not manipulative. You're just saying, "Hey, I entered," and you have a right to do that because you paid money, typically,
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But a few film festivals were like, excited to hear about the next project, which is new. That's very new. So that's good in itself,
Yeah, that's a testament to the consistency of our documentaries. I mean, we're at several now, right? This is the 7th Enter the Television.
Yeah, for features or for everything? For features,
for everything. If you include McLeod, it's probably.
I don't count shorts. Sorry.
Okay. All right, Tom.
Okay, dude. 3 VHS Massacres, American Expendables, Enter the Television. So 5.
And Video Dreams.
No, that's part of the trilogy.
Well, yeah, duh. Sorry.
Trilogy, Expendables. Yeah, so 5 feature length since in 10 years.
Yeah.
So
film every 2 years. That's a pretty good run so far. And this year is a film year to year, back to back. So, I mean, if you talk about how long Video Dreams took, then you're probably talking more than a year, because there is some archivally, we're talking that goes back 30 years. So
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like you look at your early work. I don't know how much of that was, I think Everything Moves Alone was a good effort, and some people liked it. Film Threat liked it. It got into some festivals back in the day too. But that's the thing. We were all broke back then. So you're talking about shot in maybe 1999, started doing festivals in 2000 maybe. And we won at Bare Bones, I think. That was the first win.
That's right.
Went out there.
That's right.
So I still...
And that was early for Bare Bones.
Yeah.
They had only been around for a few years, right?
I think that's right, yeah. Yeah.
And it premiered at Trinity.
Yep, Cine Studio. Yep. But we did book that. We booked that ourselves. We rented it. And I'm still doing that. With Video Dreams, I didn't have to pay, but Film Noir Cinema screened Video Dreams. And when the smoke cleared, lo and behold, that has been the New York physical screening, was Film Noir Cinema. Because New York, even though we got to Filmmakers New York, that was an online thing. We won at New York Film Awards. That was more of an online thing. They did have a screening in Lower East Side, but I don't think our film were part of that. But
okay.
So anyway, it's the film festival circuit is really, really wild, and
you just don't know.
No.
And for every disappointment or miss that happens as far as an actual screening or whatever, these other things pop up, and you're just like, wow, geez, the underground film festival circuit really loves this. Melbourne, like biggest one in Australia.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, most respected.
And it's streamed. It's
and
streamed there.
Largest in most respect. Yeah. Actually,
amazing.
One of the top in the world, Melbourne is. And yeah, dude, it's nothing makes sense. I will tell you that. So hang in there, because we won it. Arizona Underground is the top U.S. underground film festival, at least as good as Boston Underground. We didn't get into Boston Underground.
Yeah.
So, okay, we got into this one of the top Irish film festivals, 17th Annual Underground. Okay, we had like 7 rejections from big, like Chicago Underground didn't take it. A bunch of these rejection. And I'm thinking, okay, well,
we might be done.
I think declining returns, man. I think, we still have, I can bring that up. We still have some left. And then this one comes through, and you look it up. Okay. Affiliated with the Irish Academy Awards. Okay. So it's a mystery, but it just goes to show you, man, like, you can't take it personally. It has a lot to do with what theme. It could be the theme. A film festival could just have a certain theme. We're doing this year.
Right.
And you don't fit into that. Or
Yeah, we've seen that before. I can't think of a specific example, but I know a festival circuit we've done well a couple times, or a festival we've done well in a few times. Suddenly one year it was just like, oh, we didn't track there for some reason. It's like, oh, all right.
Well, yeah, we had that. Yeah, we had that. And just to show you that it's up in the air, that one in particular, I think we had won previous years.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were, I don't want to name the fest because they were good dudes. We got rejected with Video Dreams, which is one of the top performing underground documentaries of its era. And I know this sounds like I'm bragging because I am, but like there's no documentary underground doc that has 53 selections and 26 wins from top underground festivals. It's this one. And that was rejected by the small underground thing. So,
Again, it could just be the sensitivity or the theme, or maybe just the time. There was a bunch of other really good submissions that went in, and they had to be selective about it. And, unfortunately, it's like, I don't know, it's like inviting a bunch of people to your wedding. You gotta cut the list because you don't have an infinite money hack. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, feature
it's
films.
the same thing.
I found an old video of some of the people who run Chicago Underground, which we are going to enter into the television 2027. And we'll see. But they talked about how they decide on films, and they basically say a feature film is a massive amount of time that is taken up in a festival.
Right.
So your feature film has to be that much better than all the rest of the films because when they're programmed, they could put 4 or 5 shorts in the same bracket, brilliant shorts, or they can put one feature in. So your feature has to be better than almost anything.
Yeah.
So,
which speaks volumes to all the ones we actually screened in.
Yeah.
Because that means it was at the top of the heap. It was at the top portion of the heap, and they thought it was worthy enough to put that time slot, to fill a time slot with. And dude, I feel amazing about that.
And they're heavily curated because the reputation of the film festival, they're reproving their reputation every year.
Mm-hmm.
And the roster of films, the idea is that you can pick almost any film, and it's going to be, you might not like it, but you'll understand why it's there.
Right.
But okay, so we have Phantasmal Film Festival. We're supposed to hear technically today.
Okay.
That is in Medellin, Antigua. Yeah.
Yeah, that's down in the Caribbean, right?
Okay, cool. In Cucalorias, that's a big one, and I would say it's a top experimental fest. That's not till next month, September 18th.
Okay.
Smod Castle, that's Kevin Smith's thing.
Mm-hmm.
We got both films entered in there, so figured to give it a try. Berlin Underground, October 7th notification.
Mm-hmm.
This is for Video Dreams. 22nd Annual Transitorial del Cinema Underground. Where is this one? This is in Argentina.
That's another thing with this festival run. All over the world.
Yeah.
Italy, the UK,
yep.
France, Ireland, the US, Canada, Australia.
Speaking of which, last 2 are UK. London Underground.
Mm-hmm.
October 10th, we'll find out. Round for Horror, January. That's interesting. They have a February horror festival. That's kind of cool, actually. It's not a bad idea, right? So you don't do it on Halloween. You do it a few months after.
Well, have you noticed that there's a lot of indie studios, or not indie? They're not indie studios, but they're a lot of smaller budget productions like A24's and Blumhouse's films. They come out in January, February, and they're suspense horror. It's interesting. It's like another time of the year to drop scary
horror.
shit.
Okay. I guess I didn't realize that. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Well, it's well after the holidays,
Christmas holidays, right?
So
right.
I mean, horror is evergreen. I mean,
It's true.
maybe it's true. You don't want to drop it right on Christmas. I don't know. But
Unless
maybe
it's like
Silent Night, Deadly Night.
yeah, exactly. Or there was there was something else that came out, like not Bad Santa, because that's more like a comedy drama type of thing, but there was something else that came out not that long ago, and I forget the exact name, but it was horror related for around Christmas. You know what I mean?
Was that David Harbour thing?
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, so I don't know. 2027 should be very interesting. And just to filmmakers out there, man, you have to create your own opportunities. Tim and I are not, we're not special, except that I think we do have a good work ethic, and we are adamant about finishing things.
Yeah.
And
we drive each other nuts by I mean, that I can honestly give Tom some credit on the orchestration stuff that got published this week, because Tom will press me. He's like, "Come on, dude, get off your ass. You've
had enough.
Taken enough of a hiatus,
bro.
Just get it done." And he's absolutely right. Sometimes you just need a partner in that regards to just kind of kick you in the butt and get you moving and get you just couple steps. And like, every day doesn't have to be some epic gain on your project. I would look at a couple tracks a day and just try to tweak it a little bit and just do these little adjustments here and there, and then finally put it all down for a week or two, come back to it in my headphones, and then just go back to the studio after walking and taking notes on my phone and just iterate on and execute on the changes and be done with it and be like, that's all I'm going to do to change it. I brought it as far as I can take it. It's time to put it out in the world and move on to the next stuff. Because that's another thing, even with movies and with music, is that you could spend the next 30, 40 years. We could spend the next 30, 40 years tweaking Enter the Television. I could spend the next 30, 40 years tweaking my orchestral pieces. That doesn't do anybody any good. You get the story as clean and as neat, and you get the auditory, the sonic narrative as clean, as neat as you can make it. Get it out there and let it do the work it's supposed to do. That's it. And then move on to the next project.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you do have to, with like the feature, you have to really make sure there's no obvious errors. Do your absolute best, But there does come a time where where the film is, as Ron Howard said, I think that every film eventually is abandoned, meaning that that's no excuse to not do many rounds of changes. But at some point, I at least can notice that the changes are getting more tweaks as they get reduced to more subtle and subtle and subtle and subtle and subtle, till you feel like, okay, anything I'm doing here is, it's pretty much locked. Now
it's cost prohibitive work at that point, right?
Yeah, I can't predict how it will be received.
Right.
But it's really hard. The first VHS Massacre people that I worked with were, I won't say who it was a few of the people I worked with in my old department they thought it was really disorganized and told me so. And one of them was very rude about it, and one of them was very polite about it. But I didn't think, it was, it had chapters, it was organized, and I think it was just a generational thing.
Yeah.
Because it was well received,
Yeah.
So,
and we also have to know, for any filmmakers out there and music producers out there, people's advice, you can't live off of people's advice, good, bad, or indifferent. It has to come from here. You have to know here that you've done the best you can do, and that it's time to put it down. And regardless of how it's received, if you're happy with it, that's all that matters. And I know that sounds counterintuitive to being successful at something, but it absolutely bleeds through in authenticity, because the second you start making something for somebody else, it's not yours anymore. You're now catering to an audience. It's the reason why I don't do a hell of a lot of commission work when it comes to music, is because oftentimes the tweaks and the changes and everything are from a non-musician, and they don't make sonic sense, at least not to me. And it's just not how I create. And yeah, does that eliminate a bunch of areas that I could have some opportunity? Sure. But it's not who I am, and it's not the way that we make movies. We don't make movies given, a budget from a major studio with an agenda, because we don't want that oversight. We don't want anybody altering our narrative in any way so that we can tell the story we want to tell, right?
Yeah, I mean, the truth is 99% of Hollywood films are terrible. And the media consolidation has gotten so bad that they are just products. There's, the word...
There's a lot of safety with IP, the existing IP, right?
Yeah.
Make the 45th Superman or whatever, I'm not picking on Superman specifically, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah. I wanted to talk about Phantasm so the guy who played Reggie Bannister...
But he passed away recently, right?
He passed away recently. Yeah. I saw a clip of him, and so Phantasm is one of the greatest independent horror film franchises ever made. The first one was legitimately a low budget, and let's see if I can bring up the budget. Don Cascarelli directed, $300,000 budget.
Wow.
Given that's still a lot of money because it was
early 80s?
It was, 1979. Wow.
Okay. Wow.
And I saw an interview with Reggie Bannister, and he was a little shy about calling it art. He said something like, dare I say, he said, all we want to do is we make films for the fans, but we make films for ourselves. We love it, but we're aware of our fans, and that's what we want to do with our life. And dare I say, we make art. So he was kind of shy of calling art, but if you watch the first Phantasm, it's incredibly artistic and creative, and one of the most creative horror franchises ever made. And
if you're too young for it, it's the what is it? The byline is "the ball is back," right? Like
back,
in one of the sequels,
big
and
silver
it's like
ball that drills people's heads. Yeah,
like razor blades on the end of it or whatever.
So cool. Yeah. And the tall man. It's got the tall man in it.
It's got some Slender Man reference there. You know what I mean? Like it's like there's those
the original.
Old...
Yeah. The original tall man. Yeah. It was Michael Baldwin, Reggie Bannister, Angus Scrimm. Yeah. Anyway, so
he sounded very humble. He was a
very humble guy. And so anyway, that is art. It's definitely within genre and art films and experimental films, underground films. That's where the art is. Hollywood sucks so bad that even the what people call like the some of these internet celebrities call people normies, and meaning just like your mainstream viewer,
right?
I can't understand why you would even go to the theaters nowadays for 99% of this stuff. I mean, The Odyssey was fine. I watched that.
Yeah, I loved that in the theater. That was great.
So yeah, but that there's more of a technical side to The Odyssey that made it interesting.
But for like a drama or a comedy or something, it's easily watchable online. With the exception of maybe I honestly want to support Super Troopers 3 in a theater.
Sure.
Because
those dudes are still going, man. Got to give them credit.
Well, for the same reason, very low budget. I'm sure even with the third iteration, not a high budget film, and it probably won't be in the theater for very long because that's just how things work these days. If it's not producing revenue, it's out and you're renting it on Amazon or it's going to stream somewhere. So all the more reason to get out there and support some of these indie films because it's just good old, like it's basically back to, this is an exception to the example and rule of like raunchy, like sophomoric humor from the 80s coming, like kind of itching its way back into a film series that you're kind of like, yeah, all right, I'll watch that because this just damn funny. It's just damn funny.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing for Kevin Smith, actually. I don't, dude. I don't think I ever watched Clerks 3, and I should. But I really liked Clerks 2 back in the day. He made Clerks 2, and that really got to me, you know. So yeah, I mean, so, it is true. We gotta you gotta support these filmmakers. Yeah, I mean the what is it? Is it Broken Lizard? What's those guys? The Super Trooper guys?
I think you're right. It's something like that.
Given they did make some studio films, but you know they definitely were a comedy squad. They were independent, you know. They were a comedy troupe, I believe. And no, I think like you know that's the kind of stuff you wanna support, you know.
Yeah.
I
Like
don't know.
Brain Candy back in the day, right? With the kids in the hall,
Yeah,
you know, doing Brain Candy. Like it tanked at the theater because nobody understood it. And you weren't supposed to. It was just dumb, stupid fun.
it was
right?
so good though. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That show is so like so well made, incredibly well made. It's one of the Kids in the Hall is one of the best made shows. Also,
Mr. Show.
Mr. Show was one of the
Yeah.
most well put together, you know, comedy
The
shows.
cuts where like something like a pen drops and then it goes right into the
Yeah.
next scene.
Like cuts,
Like just great
match cuts, and
transitions.
transitions. Yeah.
Yeah. Just fantastically directed.
Yeah, very cool. So yeah, anyway, yeah. So you know, the mainstream stuff. I think more people are coming around now to the fact that like if you look at like physical media sales, so much of it is genre based. So much of it is horror or old. They'll go back like companies like Vinegar Syndrome will clean up old prints and you know they even
Do a
have this.
re-release.
Yeah, they have this thing called Degausser, which will if they can find a good tape master, they'll work with that. But it's got to be a pretty specific thing.
Okay.
So, which I thought was a really cool angle. Yeah. So anyway, but as independent filmmakers, composers, you know, we got to just keep moving forward. And as I'm about to turn 50 in January, I just got to I just forging forward, keep making my films. Don't listen to fucking anyone and just fucking keep making my shit, you know?
Yeah. Between now and then, I'm sure we're gonna have the next project on the discovery board and figuring out, you know, what the story is and what we want to do. You know, I mean, it's gonna take a few months. There's gonna be a few months of us, I don't know, playing Arc Raiders or the next best thing, and just shooting the shit and trying to figure out what we want to talk about next. But it usually comes to us in a dream. No, it comes to us in the most unlikely places. We'll get something in our news feed on social media, or I'll see an article somewhere and I'll throw a couple things at the wall, you know, a little spaghetti at the wall with Tom and be like, hey, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? And then Tom comes back. Maybe it's not exactly what I said, but then there's like a different flavor. And he's like,
yeah, it just
I'm not really into that.
Spaghetti.
And it's like, but I want to do, I'm thinking maybe this. What do you think about this? And then I'm like,
I know for Into the Television, I know the seed of it. And the seed of it was VHS Massacre 2. I had done a segment about He-Man and about the Noid, which we didn't end up. We had a new version of the whole Noid thing, and we didn't avoid the Noid. There's a news story about the controversy. There was a stick up. This guy thought the TV was talking to him, and anyway, we didn't end up using it. But that was from VHS Massacre 2. It didn't fit in the narrative of VHS Massacre 2. But I remember on those VHS tapes coming across old tapes that had old commercials on them and being fascinated by that. And so we had exhausted a bunch of other stuff. American Expendables was about that catalog of films. And I think we'd stumbled across a few random commercials, you know, weird stuff. And then I was like, there's something here. We could do it. But the problem was the idea of just making a doc about commercials like is absurd. And the way we did it is maybe not the best way to do it, but what we did is like I got together total, I don't know, maybe 50 commercials. And Tim got together a roster of his commercials. we did podcasts. We watched them all. We talked about them all. 90% of that went in the bin, but maybe 10% of that, they all had stories or they affected you in a certain way. One commercial was like very like working class. It's like, yeah, you don't see that. Why is this bothering me?
Mm-hmm.
And then someone was the sticker shock. Like there was a $2 steak at Bonanza, and then there's something here, man, And so then it was building in post, and then that took a year. So it's yeah. So it's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, the process is interesting. It feels like a lot of nothing for a seemingly long time, and then suddenly things start to congeal and you realize there's a story. And that's when Tom starts dropping stuff on a timeline, that's when stuff really starts to kick off. Because then we start to get the ideas behind, who do we think would be good to talk over this? And who do we think, has some insight in this area? And next thing you know, like it's just the story just evolves. Like I feel like we're just channels to whatever the story is. Because eventually,
I don't know, man, it's hard work, dude. I don't know. I don't fucking know about that, dude.
I always say this, and
there's
Tom
no
thinks
flow. No, there's no flow or it's just fucking brutality.
Tom always thinks I'm minimizing the effort here. There's no way in shape or form am I trying to say that.
No, it's not.
I mean?
It's just it's not. It's there's no flow. It's just fucked the whole time, dude. It's just filmmaking is, especially when you're out in the field, you're going against nature. When you're making less so in documentary because you're mostly in post-production. When you're making a film in the field, you are directly going against nature. And because there's wind, because you're trying to control everything.
Right.
You're trying to control the lighting, which you can't outside. You're trying to control the wind, the traffic noise, the other people in the environment. It's all uncontrollable.
Yeah.
That's why it takes so much money to make these. But in post, building a story of these pieces, like, I don't know, it's a long process. But I suppose I can get into a state of flow when I'm like de-junking a scene, But I don't have that. Whatever the musician flow state that you get, I don't have.
You don't get that. Okay. You can fool me because there's sometimes you get to like a 20-25 minute rough cut of the feature and it happens over the course of a week and I'm like, dude, he's in flow right now. He's dropping stuff in the timeline. You're like, dude, it's just so rough right now. God, I hate, like, I don't even like I don't even know what this is, blah, blah, blah. And then I jump.
That's what I'm talking. See, that's what I'm talking.
Yeah. But then you show it to me and maybe I can see what you don't see yet.
Maybe.
Because I'm outside of it. It's the same thing with like, you become myopic to your own art, right?
Yeah.
If you spend enough time with it, I'm sure at this point, it's Enter the Television's a blur. You've watched the full cut of it so many times, you have no objectivity left.
No.
Right? None whatsoever. Whereas I still do. So, like,
and that's useful. And that's very useful.
Yeah. Same thing in the opposite direction. Like, I'm very curious to know what your response is to the recent releases I did, because there's oftentimes I'm like, this is as far as I can take it, blah, blah, and I put something and I'll get a shocking response from Tom and it'll be like, dude, this is some of your best work. I don't know where this came from. I don't know why you waited so long. I'm like, well, it wasn't ready, dude. It wasn't, like, that's why it took so long.
Yeah.
But at the same time, my objectivity is shit. When I've been editing and over again, there's like these little nuances. I'm like, I don't know if people are going to respond well to this patch. I don't know.
What
dude.
is that? What is that? Because you're great at what you do. You have taste. You have your taste. But there's this wild lack of sense of
if it's done or not.
If it's done or if it's good.
I think because as an artist, whether it's movie making, whether it's making music, what ultimately happens in your head is as you're getting close to the edge, we have this subconscious desire, at least me as an artist does, and probably you to some extent as well, and you can confirm or deny this, but suddenly you start making this comparison in your head, and you're like, okay, is it as good as, and you're like, stop, it's not that song. It's not that artist. It's me.
Yeah.
This is me. This is my art. So I shouldn't be comparing this to fucking anybody. And I should just get it, like I said earlier, get it as far as long as I can get it, you know, and like the highest level of excitement I can do on this piece. Whatever. Like, even if it's like I call some tracks throwaways because it's an idea I have to get off my hard drive. I like, it sits there. This doesn't make any sense probably to a lot of people, but I've got this list and I want to get rid of most of it because most of the, if it's on this list, it's an idea I like and I feel like it has a voice. And if I don't take it somewhere, it just clutters my hard drive and then I can't come up with new things.
Yes.
And Tom can speak to this because the last couple of weeks with editing down Enter the Television, I know he's felt that impetus to get it done, get it out, get it move. Like, I need headspace for other things, and I gotta move on from this thing, and that's a good feeling because it means that you're ready to pull it across the finish line, right? And that's writing these out and scheduling out the fall and into the winter, you know, even into next spring with a bunch of this stuff is a good sign for me. It means I'm going to clear the palette of these ideas that have just been germinating for the longest time and get it to the other place. That weird feeling is, I think it's that fear that it's not good enough and it's not going to be accepted. And I think ultimately, as long as you're happy with, you put it down because you put it down, you make a decision to do so. But as long as you're happy with the quality of what you did and you feel like it's representative of the things that you can do, get it out and move on. And that's just my mentality. Now, you know, I wax and wane with that because we're human beings. You know?
It is. Yeah. That reminds me of a few things that I've said to you over the past few weeks, I need to force progress. I need to force some progress.
Yeah.
And that's like, it's a mental thing. It's not that the film was refined to a level, but it was like, it's realizing, especially with a feature film, that getting to that finish line, especially towards the end, is really dicey. Some people get locked in that last phase, that last 1%, and it drags on and on and on. And so like towards that end, I was forcing deadlines. It was like, I'm going to spend 8 hours fixing the audio. And that's what I'm going to do. In 8 hours, I'm going to have it done. And I do that. I was going to spend 8 hours looking at the visuals. I'm going to spend 8 hours.
Well, what's amazing about what you just said is that it primes your brain to get that result.
Yeah.
Right? In 8, I'm going to sit down for a day. I'm going to spend a whole Saturday and fix the audio. And when I'm done, it's done. Like, dude, that is the most powerful thing you can do as a creator or as any endeavor, is to give yourself a finite period. It's the same thing. And productivity people talk about this all the time. Like, just before somebody goes on vacation, that Friday before the weekend, they take a plane trip and go like to Bermuda or whatever. They are the most productive people you've ever seen because they have a time constraint.
Yeah.
If you did that to yourself every day, it's that you'd go insane. But if more often than not, you did that to yourself every day, you used like timers and stuff, you know, where you're like, all right, I got 15 minutes, you know, I got 15 minutes to finish this thing and go. Like, I've started using that as a technique to be like, okay, I'm not screwing around anymore. Like, I want to get through this thing and I know I can do it, but I'm going to time myself so that I can look at this thing and be like, all right, stop screwing around. Stop checking your email or whatever. Like, get to it, get after it. Right. Dude, that's the reason that somebody's Opus film is still sitting on their hard drive for the last 20 years. It's because they don't know how to bring it across the the finish line because they
Yeah.
haven't said that in their head. They haven't said
Yeah.
the thing that you did, which is got to clean up the audio. And I'm going to
Yep.
be done with it today after 8 hours.
I
Right.
did the same thing with the trailer. And I got to tell you, man, I was sick of cutting trailers. When I'm editing a feature, I always collect spare parts for the trailer and I put it in a different timeline. And I'm always playing with the time. And I had probably 4 or 5 different false starts and just like a mess. And I was feeling exhausted by the trailer. But when I fixed the audio, like I think it was the next day, I said, I'm gonna cut a trailer today. And it didn't take a day. It actually took, I think, 2 or 3 days. And every export, I found errors. Every export. And I remember thinking I was on export like maybe 3. And I was like, oh, it'd be funny if it took 7 exports because on Video Dreams, the trailer says export 7 because 6 times I found little errors and the 7th one was good enough. Still imperfect. I still see stuff in it. But in this one, and then the day kept going on and on and on and on and on. I got up to 9 and I was like, all right. And it was a joke to me. I was like, I'll never get up to 7, and but then I had it done.
Yeah.
And then I was like, move on. So
And
anyway,
it's perfect. It's great.
But
in my mind's eye, it's fantastic, dude. It does the thing. It does the thing.
does
for
the
film.
thing, yeah. So anyway,
You
yeah,
know?
all forced progress, man. Yeah, sometimes you have to do that. That's not to say you don't. It's got to be far enough along for you to do that.
Right.
So, but
well, I'm excited, dude. I'm excited for this fall. I'm excited for these this half a dozen or so film festivals for Video Dreams to see how it ends. Even if it's a pass on all of, I still feel like that festival run is the best one yet, and I'm very proud of it, and I can't wait to see what happens with Enter the Television. I can't wait to share it because I think it's a really, really cool story, and
I would like to think
Yeah.
people seeing it fresh would be like, oh, this is kind of cool,
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
because we can't say that.
no.
I can say it's cool. I can't be fresh about it because I've seen it so many times. So it's like,
it's I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Well, thanks, dude. I think these updates are fantastic. I think we're both on the right track, dude. I'm on the right track with the music. I'm getting things moving, and you're certainly getting things moving this year with the films, dude. A film release year over year, back to back, is fantastic. Sustainable going forward.
It's you can debate, am I going too quickly, or whatever, but the truth is the universe operates how it operates, and I'm not particularly there's no evidence to say whether I should hold off or not, but if I held off on entering festivals for Enter the Television, I'd be wasting time for sure.
Yeah.
So, we don't want to waste time.
No, let's get after it, man. That's it. That's the theme of this episode. Get after it, guys. Nobody's going to bring your film across the finish line but you. Nobody's going to bring your music across the finish line but you. So do it. Just get it done.
Do it. Do it.
Do it. Listen to Shia LaBeouf, okay? Just do it.
Do it.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us today, everybody.
All right. See ya.